During the brutal winters of World War I, soldiers faced a danger that was just as deadly as enemy fire: the cold. Trenches became icy rivers of mud and water, and, well, nights in the field could leave men frozen before dawn. Standard wool blankets offered some protection, but they were cumbersome, often wet, and provided little mobility. Yet, amid the chaos, one small piece of equipment quietly saved lives: the coat liner. Worn inside standard-issue greatcoats, it created a layer of insulation that retained body heat even when the outer coat became damp from rain, snow, or trench water. Its effectiveness wasn't widely discussed in manuals, and soldiers often discovered it through necessity, improvising and adapting based on conditions. Understanding how this liner worked provides insights not only into historical military innovation, but also into practical cold-weather survival techniques still relevant today. The core of the World War I coat liner relied on trapping air between layers. Modern survivalists often talk about insulation in terms of materials, but the soldiers of World War I understood a simple principle: trapped air retains heat. The coat liner was typically a quilted padded insert made of wool or down, stitched in such a way that the padding stayed evenly distributed. When worn inside a heavy wool greatcoat, the liner created a micro-layer that trapped warm air next to the body. Unlike blankets, which can shift or sag, the liner stayed in place, following the soldier's movements while maintaining a constant layer of insulation. This principle is directly applicable today. You know, a modern hiker or camper can actually replicate this effect by layering a quilted liner or even an insulated vest under a jacket. And even if the outer shell gets wet, the trapped air in that inner layer continues to provide warmth. It's a simple trick, but incredibly effective. The design was, well, deliberately flexible for field conditions. Soldiers could remove or add the liner depending on the weather, trench activity, or even their sleep needs. These liners were lightweight compared to traditional blankets, could be folded right into their packs, and allowed soldiers to keep their coats buttoned over them, creating a nice seal against the wind. Veterans' diaries, they frequently mention the difference it made during those sudden night freezes when, say, blankets left in tents or dugouts were simply unavailable. The liner's portability and how it could be integrated into existing clothing gave soldiers a continuous heat source that didn't rely on fires, which honestly were often impossible or just too dangerous to maintain. For modern application, consider creating modular insulation layers for cold weather gear that can be added or removed depending on activity and environment. The flexibility is key to maintaining warmth without restricting mobility. The materials used amplified the effectiveness of the liner. Wool and down were the primary materials because they retained warmth even when damp, a critical feature in the trenches. Wool fibres trap air and resist moisture absorption, while down compresses slightly but retains significant insulating power. Soldiers with access to multiple layers sometimes improvised by filling cotton pouches with straw or feathers to create additional liners. The key lesson is understanding material properties. A wet outer shell is less of a threat when the inner layer continues to trap heat. Today, using a synthetic or natural insulating liner under a waterproof shell reproduces the same principle. Even soaked outer layers can leave the wearer warm if a resilient inner layer is present. The method became even more valuable when paired with trench survival techniques. In the trenches, wet and muddy conditions were unavoidable. Soldiers learned to keep the liner dry by storing it inside the coat during inactive periods and quickly putting it on when returning to freezing posts. They also learned to layer it with scarves, gloves and wool socks to protect extremities, creating a complete microclimate around the body. For modern survivalists, the lesson is straightforward. Keep your core insulated and, prioritize materials that maintain heat even when damp. Adding a removable liner inside jackets or coats allows rapid adaptation to environmental changes without losing efficiency. This technique outperformed conventional blankets under field conditions. Blankets can retain heat in a stationary position, but honestly, they fail in mobile scenarios. Soldiers moving through mud, rain or snow often found blankets heavy, wet and impossible to carry effectively. The coat liner, however, stayed with the soldier, worked in combination with the greatcoat, and preserved warmth, whether standing, walking or crouching in a trench. For off-grid camping or emergency preparedness, this is a crucial insight. Keeping insulation close to the body and integrated with clothing is far more effective than relying on a single outer layer, especially in wet conditions. The World War I coat liner also teaches a lesson about durability and maintenance. Surviving soldiers noted that liners remained effective over months of harsh use if cared for properly. Quilted stitching prevented shifting of padding, wool resisted decay, and simple repairs with needle and thread could restore lost insulation. For modern application, consider using high-quality repairable materials when creating insulating layers. A simple stitch or patch can extend the lifespan and effectiveness of a survival garment or liner. If you want more historically proven survival strategies, forgotten military fieldcraft, and practical cold weather techniques, subscribe to In the Beginning and share this video. Lessons like the World War I coat liner aren't just history. They are tools that saved lives then and can still protect you today.